So first off, the only weapon in useless tier is the blaster. It is good for movement because you can rocket jump with it, and it's alright for environmental kills because it has really high knockback, but it only does a maximum of 20 damage per shot, so killing with it raw is very, very rare. And you can't expect it to do a lot because it's the only vanilla weapon. There's a lot of other weapons besides these, but I'm just reviewing the 9 standard weapons. It's the only one of them that does not require ammo, so it's a last resort kind of thing. So it has to be bad. So the weapon right above it, the shotgun. The shotgun is alright. You can get some kills with it, but it's strictly a close range weapon. You want versatility. You want to be able to pick people off at long range and also be able to deal with things at close range. And so the next weapon, the Crylink, is incredibly inconsistent, but it is marginally better than the shotgun, just because it can deal with people at long range. Because the shotgun has its normal shotgun primary fire and the melee swing. Now, the melee swing is actually very good. It does 70 damage, and the hitbox is actually really, really big. But again, it's only useful in close quarters, where the Crylink, I very much do not like the Crylink. It's incredibly inconsistent. Sometimes you'll do 60 damage, sometimes you'll do 4, and most of the time you'll be doing 4. But because it does have an alt fire that can be used at longer ranges, I think it slightly beats the shotgun just because of the increased versatility. Either way, I don't like the Crylink, but I think it is slightly better than the shotgun. So, starting off C tier, and the only weapon that's in C tier is the Hagar. The Hagar, it's eh. There's nothing really good about it, but there's also nothing really terrible about it. It's just eh. There's a lot of weapons that you should take over it, but it can also be used to just get some brain dead kills in a hallway. So it's just eh. Alright, so going into B and A tier, these are weapons that are legitimately good and that you can legitimately consistently rely on. And I think the worst of those weapons is the Devastator, because the Devastator does a lot of damage. A direct hit from it deals 80 damage, and it's an explosive weapon, so there's splash damage. So even if you missed a direct hit, you'll still probably get some damage on them. And on top of that, you can guide the rocket after it leaves the Devastator. A certain amount of time after it leaves the Devastator, you can start, curving it in midair, which can be very useful in certain situations. But because it's so powerful, it's also very slow. The rockets themselves don't travel very fast, and there's quite a bit of time between shots. So you can definitely rely on it if you're good at it, but it does have its downsides. And the weapon that I think is a little bit better, and the only other weapon in B tier, is the Vortex. The Vortex has kind of the same problems with the Devastator, where it's slow but does a lot of damage, but it's a hit scan. And because it's a hit scan, you can hit people at pretty much any range. And also because you don't need a headshot for it to be lethal, and the beam that it shoots out actually has a pretty surprisingly big hitbox, hitting shots with the Vortex is not super difficult. Like, you can rely on the Vortex, and you can actually go through matches and use nothing but the Vortex, as long as you can hit your shots. So, getting into A tier, these are the big boy weapons. These are the weapons that you can consistently rely on, and you don't need any other weapon to get kills but them. So the first weapon is going to be the machine gun. It has some very notable upsides, being it is a hit scan, which is always good. It has the potential to do a lot of damage. Like, if you can consistently track people with the machine gun, you can kill them in seconds, and there's really nothing that they'll be able to do about it. And those are the main two upsides. Its one downside, I can say, well, no, actually, it has two downsides. Its two downsides are it's not that good at longer ranges because of its spread. It can still be used at long ranges. It's not useless at long range, it's just less useful. And also, it is the only weapon that needs to be reloaded. So you can't just continually fire out shots and not worry about missing, because if you miss all of your shots, then you'll have to reload and you will be a sitting duck. So, and you'll notice a theme with the weapons in A tier is you have to use them well, but if you use them well, you will be very, very heavily rewarded. So next is the Mortar. The Mortar is pretty much just your classic arena shooter projectile weapon. It shoots a grenade in an arc, and it does explosive damage. A direct hit does 55 damage, so you could kill someone at 100 health in 2 shots, which is very nice. And the optimal way to use it is get a direct hit, which will usually send them up in the air, and then when they're in the air, hit them again. And so the Mortar, it's a very straightforward weapon. It doesn't take a lot of strategy to use it or anything, but it is very good. It is very useful. And actually, when I went back and downloaded Xonotic, and started playing it again, that was the weapon that I gravitated to most, because it's pretty easy to use. You just hit shots, you get rewarded for it. So yeah, Mortar, definitely a good weapon, and which only leaves the Electro. The Electro is the best weapon in the game, in my opinion, because it has your standard projectile, your standard arena shooter projectile. It goes in an arc, travels pretty fast. It doesn't do as much damage as the Mortar. The Mortar does 55. The Electro's projectile only does 40. So to kill someone at 100 health, you will need 3 shots. But that is not the standard use for the Electro, because the Electro has one of, if not the best alt fire in the game, because it shoots out 3 grenades, and those grenades can be detonated by hitting them with the primary fire. So the strategy with the Electro is shoot out the 3 grenades around a person and then detonate them with the primary fire to kill them in one hit. It almost always, scratch that, it almost always kills in 1 hit. So the destructive potential of the Electro is insane. I don't know the maximum amount of damage you can do with it, but just from the 3 grenades in the 1 shot, you can very consistently kill people in 1 shot. The only downside to the Electro is it chews through ammo, because the 3 grenades plus the primary shot costs 10 cells, which is a third of the ammo that you get with the weapon. So you do have to use it sparingly, but you also just go and get more ammo when you're done. But it is a weapon that you will have to watch your ammo, because it is very easy to run out. But besides that one thing, the Electro is just very, very, very good.